A natural med isn't just a substance you take. It is a lifestyle that one lives to amplify their health. We don't always choose how long we will be on this planet, but we can take action on the quality of life that we wish to enjoy.
The Natural Med podcast interviews different professionals and experts who look at improving the quality of health so they can live a more fulfilling life. Whether that be physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, or spiritually, we discover the secrets to their own journey and the small steps individuals can take on a daily basis to improve the quality of their life. Come with me as we travel, research, and discover how we can make incremental changes on a daily basis to live a more fulfilled and balanced life. Hey guys, it's Nicole with the Natural Med podcast. I'm here today with Dr. Max Morrison. He is a board-certified ER physician, and he's also the author of this book, Stop Sabotaging Your Future, Live Your Life the Way You Want. So welcome, Dr. Morrison.
All right, yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and can you introduce yourself to us and kind of tell us a little background, why you became a physician and, what inspired you to write this book?
Sure thing. So I'm from New York originally, Long Island, just grew up outside New York City. I was always interested in helping people, so my journey of becoming a physician kind of started off, I was an engineering major. I liked what I was studying in terms of the science and, kind of using it to problem solve. But when I was ready to graduate, there weren't really a lot of jobs in Long Island for my field. I would have had to move, and I wasn't quite ready to do that yet. So my sister, was kind of like, oh, you're such a caring person. And she was in nursing school at the time. And she's like, oh, have you ever thought about becoming a doctor? So kind of joke that I was dared to became a doctor on a bit of a dare. But I was like, it didn't seem as far-fetched. I already had a lot of the basic science background prerequisites. So I kind of looked more into it. And I was like, this does seem like a field I could really get into. And sure enough, just took another 2 years after college to do some prerequisites, finish and take the MCAT, and then finally got into school, and then moved down here after all my training. So, yeah,
and now you're in the Dallas area,
Yep.
And I've known you for a couple years now. We first met when I worked in the ER here locally, and you were a physician, and I've known you for years, and then you all of a sudden just texted me out of the blue and told me you wrote a book, and I read it, and I was like, wow, this is awesome, because it really goes aligned with kind of our mission and goals in the podcast, so just health and wellness and everything in general. So what really inspired you to write this book?
So I had going through the medical training aspect of it. Again, it's some you might not know. It's 4 years of medical school and then at least 3 years of residency, and it's definitely has a reputation for being pretty grueling. It's not as bad as people make it out to be, but again, they kind of put you down to build you up, like a lot of training programs do, and so going through that process. I gave a lot of, took a toll on my mental health in terms of having to deal with superiors who were kind of, again, putting you down to, try to teach you, but it's a very hierarchical, and you're constantly kind of being made to feel that you don't measure up and you're not good enough. So you really need to have a lot of resolve and strength to combat that. And then the other aspect was on a personal note, or my personal life. I was engaged to a woman, and that, again, she was wonderful, and just kind of it didn't work out, and I realized I didn't love her anymore, and so kind of breaking off that engagement, it was like about 6 months before we were supposed to get married, kind of put me in a dark place, to use a common phrase, and just kind of finding some difficulties of, okay, here I am, I finished my training, I'm supposed to be on top of the world, and I felt like I wasn't there, kind of what's missing. So went on a journey of exploration and did a lot of research into psychology and well-being and just all the aspects that are involved with that. And that kind of inspired me to say, let me take what I've learned and the experiences I've had, put it in a book and see if I can help others with that. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So one of the things you mentioned in the book was as you were finishing up med school and your sister suggested, or finishing up engineering school, and your sister suggested this, you're like, I didn't really like pre-med students. You hadn't really thought about that. And then, but, regardless, you jumped in that field, and like, can you go into that a little bit more? Like maybe like some of your hesitancy to like make that big of a change?
Well, I think that if you ever met, no offense to any pre-med students who might be listening, but if you ever interact with a pre-med student, they always make it seem like they're going through the worst of everything, and oh my gosh, organic chemistry and physics and all this stuff, and it's they can't go out or can't do this because they have to study. So it's just kind of, that wasn't my style or my, don't get me wrong, I worked hard, I studied hard, but I also like to go out and be social, and so kind of wondering how I would fit in with people that were, again, that classic type A personality where they're just go, and so I was worried again. You see shows, like Grey's Anatomy, where everyone's cutthroat and trying to step on each other, and so again, that was part of my hesitancy of like, okay, are these really the people with whom I want to be colleagues? And thankfully, again, I think I talked about it either in the intro or throughout the book, of just that wasn't my experience at all. Everyone in med school was very helpful and friendly, and looking out for each other. So it was definitely a way better experience than is commonly portrayed.
Yeah. No, that's interesting, because that can definitely kind of steer you towards or away if you even in my field of being a nurse and being an ICU nurse, there's such a I guess we have our feelings and our judgments towards ER nurses. So when I went from an ICU nurse to an ER nurse, they're like, oh, you're going to be like chaotic and unorganized, and so there's that having that judgment against.
Right. Everyone in their different tribes, and how they perceive outsiders. So just learning that, okay, what the stereotype is, like there's some truth to stereotypes, but they don't always measure up, or you kind of have to keep an open mind and explore for yourself and realize that not everyone's going to be the classic prototypical ER nurse or physician.
And what field did you end up in, or specialty?
So now I'm doing emergency medicine. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So again, how it works, you go into med school and then you pretty much can go into whatever field from there. But once you choose your residency, you're kind of locked into that field unless you go back to do another residency in a different specialty. So for instance, you couldn't switch like from orthopedist and be a general surgeon. You'd have to go back and go to a residency, do a general surgery residency. So I did my residency in emergency medicine, and that's where I am right now. And it's been great. It had its ups and downs, as if you read the book, you'll find out. But it's again, a rewarding field, and
Yeah, I didn't mean to back us up a little bit, because you were talking about how you had accomplished all these things, and I think in the book you even quote Miley Cyrus about it's about the climb. So sometimes you think at the end, oh, I've achieved all this, you think that's where the happiness is going to lie. But you got to that point and you still weren't really satisfied with where you were. So that's what kind of led to the discovery and search. And tell us a little bit more about, some of your research and how you came out of that.
Yeah. So, just really coming out of it, of again, just exploring it, like obviously Google is a great place to start. And then just kind of figuring out, really doing introspection, figuring out what is it about where I am that is making me unhappy, and looking at it of, okay, you again passed all these milestones, and how exciting it was to complete each, again, pass each exam or finish each rotation on your residency or training program, and then kind of realize when you get to the top that there's nowhere else to climb up to. You're kind of you're there. So coming out of it was learning how to be happy with where you are. I think that's one of the things, and I talk about in the book, is there's a whole chapter on gratitude, of just learning, okay, being grateful for appreciating all that you've done, and learning to just take a breath and relax and say, hey, instead of focusing on what's missing in my life, focus on what I do have. And then another chapter talks about creating new challenges. So again, you may have climaxed or peaked in your career, but there's other things you could focus on, whether it's traveling, starting a family, buying a house, donating your time, volunteering, mission work. There's so many things that you can do that are new challenges to kind of keep you motivated and center your life so that you're not focusing again on what's next.
Yeah, I love that because, it's sometimes you get caught up in the negative and you're like, I've worked this hard, why am I not happy? And then if you just take a deep breath and take a step back and be like, look, what we've done. Like for us personally, it's, our kids, we've raised 2 great kids, and just kind of looking back like, okay, like I should be grateful and thankful for what I have, but then also in turn, having those goals and keeping, pushing forward and having something to look forward to.
Yeah.
So just, writing this book, I assume that's one of your goals right now, and you starting a family as well.
Yes,
so
yes, yeah.
Go into a little bit more for that for us.
About the book or the family?
Both.
Yeah. So again, when having you had asked too about research I had done. So I had again kind of when I was at that lowest point in my life, that I had done looked into some authors and bought some self-help books and kind of just started to pick and choose. You're not going to agree with what everyone says, but they kind of, if you can take a little something from each one's perspective, it helps you. So that's what I wanted to do, is kind of take the things I've learned and put it into a book with my spin on it, offering a lot of it from a medical angle, because a lot of, again, most self-help books, you'll see some that are by psychiatrists and they could even be MDs, but I think very few, if any, are probably from like internists or emergency medicine doctors. So I thought that being in that position, especially, again, as Nicole can attest, I mean, you see so much pathology in terms of psychiatric disease in the emergency room. And it's not just the people that are coming in for suicide or depression. It's just the people that come in with chronic chest pain, chronic abdominal pain. And you just realize so much of that is tied to your mental well-being, how much our body is connected to our psychiatric state. So being able to see that, and again, you see the people that have these same patterns of behavior that just, whether it's they're not taking their medication, so they come in every week because they're, in heart failure, or they're, continue to abuse alcohol and they need their, stomach drained. They're, like a paracentesis. You just people that don't seem to learn, so that's what I kind of wanted to focus on in this book, of like how to break those maladaptive patterns of behavior that are just kind of have you going around in circles and not moving ahead and improving your life. As for the family that you mentioned, so I talk about it in the book too. I did actually come out as gay after I broke up with my fiance. So I found a wonderful husband, and he was definitely very much into starting a family. And so we both aligned. That was one of the things that we kind of matched on in terms of goals for our future, was having kids down the line. So his sister was kind enough to offer to be her surrogate.
Aww.
Yeah, so it was made it very special, and she did a great job and had 2 healthy boys, and we got to take them home back in March, and so they're about 5 months old now and doing great, and
Aww.
Yeah, again, another thing that you're saying, like, kind of keeps you busy, and it gives you something to certainly live for and focus on, and to want to be better, so that you can provide for your kids and be a good example for them. So
yeah, your world has forever changed now.
Exactly.
You're a parent. It's crazy.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you think your goals, do you feel like, when did you write this book? Over
I started it like kind of before the pandemic, so
okay.
maybe like 2019. And then I had put it down, so I maybe wrote like 2 or 3 chapters, and then I was like, put it on hold, and then the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden everyone's locked inside, and you had a lot more time to sit down and finish it. So then my husband, Christian, kind of really pushed me, once he found out I was writing it, he's like, oh, you should definitely go ahead and finish it. So it was really a good motivating force to just go ahead and get it completed.
Yeah. And I feel like, I saw that too when I worked in the ER. You see people that come in they have chest pain or abdominal pain, and it's like there are what we should call frequent flyers. They come in, and it's like, I wonder, is like their actual pain, or is it just, also related to their psychiatric health as well. Like, is their environment influencing these behaviors? Are they, it's interesting to kind of see that. And it's like, how do you kind of help somebody who maybe that's like kind of their normal,
right?
Their family, that's, kind of like how they live. Like maybe they don't prioritize, what they eat and what they put in their body. They don't prioritize exercise. So it's like, how do you help those people? That's a big question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, again, they call them in medical terms somatoform disorders, where people have these physical symptoms that are tied to really a psychiatric condition. So again, I mean, oftentimes you can see chest pain commonly in the emergency room, and you'll run every test and it's all negative. And finally I'll ask them, like, have you been stressed with anything recently? Like, is anything stressful going on? Or and oftentimes you'll get an answer of yes, like, I just broke up with someone, or I'm having job difficulties or something. And people don't realize that stress and anxiety can definitely cause chest pain. And so how important it is, and how disconcerting it is if you're already suffering from stress and anxiety, then you get chest pain and now you think you're dying. So it's important to raise awareness about that, of people just, again, understanding how tightly our bodies are tied to our minds, and how important it is to take care of both of them.
How do you feel like, are people usually receptive to your, guidance and feedback on maybe you should look at, kind of helping yourself as a whole with your anxiety? Are people usually receptive to that? Or?
Oh yeah, I think more often than not. And I think people feel relief too when you first tell them, okay, it doesn't look like you're having a heart attack or anything emergent. And then when you kind of get them to open up about something that they may not feel comfortable admitting, or unfortunately, in the emergency room, we don't have a lot of time to have a full, 60-minute session to kind of psychoanalyze or really help them work through their stress, but kind of at least giving them a diagnosis where, okay, this isn't something cardiac or pulmonary, it's probably more mental, and understanding that, again, your pain you're having is real, it's just coming from a different place. It's that your body is taking a stress and it's manifesting as pain rather than, again, being a clogged artery or a lung or something, So I think a lot of people are receptive to that. And then again, you'll get some people that, it can't be stress, it can't be that, And again, we can't prove it is or isn't, and I'll tell them that too. It's not, there's a test that, you're definitely stressed, It's kind of a matter of putting having someone has the right clinical situation, and you've ruled out the other, and getting them to kind of be open with themselves and honest with themselves. So, so I think most people are receptive to it. Yeah.
I think besides stress, I think stress is huge, but I think you have a chapter in here about being true to yourself. And I think sometimes, and not for everybody, I know there's chemical imbalances and everything, but I think sometimes people just get so tired of not being themselves, or like projecting something. Or for me, it was working in a job where I didn't really agree with upper management and how they were treating, even the people underneath me. And I'm just like constantly conflicted and having to drink the Kool-Aid and pass that down. It just, builds to this like overall dissatisfaction with life. And just, it can get to the point where you said, this dark place, maybe some of that was from not being able to just be who you really were. And I think a lot of people struggle with that because they're either trying to be something they're not, or they're trying to be cooler than they are. They're always trying to keep up with someone else and stuff like that. And it just leads to this like discontent, depressive state. And then the answer in most medical cases is like, hey, let's take some pills and fix you. And it's like, you're just treating symptoms, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, you're not solving the problem. And again, I think the science is, research is showing that like the chemical imbalance kind of theory that we've been working with, has been guiding our psychiatric treatment, might not be as true or as solid a diagnosis or a pathology as we had once thought. And again, I mean, I'm sure we haven't talked about your feelings on this, but like maybe the overprescription of psychiatric medications to people that are just, again, like you said, masking symptoms. Whereas it sounds like, I know you guys, and certainly with my book, want to, get people off those medications. Like there are going to be those people that, yes, they need to be on medications, but I think most people can probably at least get off of one or two of their medications. And I don't mean that just for psychiatric, but also talking about things like your blood pressure medicine, cholesterol medicine. I mean, if you make some life changes, the goal, the year I'll tell patients, like, I'm going to start you on this medication, but the goal is to be that you're not on this medication for the rest of your life, So if you eat right, if you exercise, we can get you off this metformin or, again, there's truth to that of being, like you said, true to yourself. And it's stressful when and I talk about that in the book too, about, yes, you want to be who you are and you need to be true to yourself, but also you need to fit in with a society and work with other people, So I think one of the things or trends you're seeing is these people on maybe TikTok or you're just kind of have no filter. They're just Lizzo, for example, with wearing scantily clad clothes. That's great, but you have to realize that's not going to be everyone's cup of tea.
Right.
Like you can support her or not support her, but you can understand the controversy about someone who's dressing a certain way provocatively, and so you have to realize, okay, like that's great. You want to be who you are, but also you have to live in a world with 8 billion other people who might have opinions about that. So, and then again, one of the things I talk about in my book of, especially when you're in a training, if you're not the highest up. So if you're someone who has a boss, you need them to coach you and to nurture you. So kind of, you might have to bite your tongue certain times and pick your battles. So it's finding that balance. Right. Again, you certainly don't want to do anything that you're morally, absolutely morally opposed to, but you also need to, is this the hill you want to die on? Is this, worth the battle of something that could jeopardize my future or my opportunities within this company or within this group? So, again, there's it's not so simple as just be yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's, you have to be yourself, but also coexist with other people.
And ultimately,
are you tired of feeling sore and stiff after a hard workout? Do you struggle with chronic muscle pain and inflammation? If so, Lone Star Naturals CBD Muscle Cream is here to help. Our specially formulated cream contains a powerful blend of CBD and other natural ingredients that work together to provide fast-acting, targeted relief for sore muscles and joints. Simply rub the cream into your skin and let it go to work, helping to reduce inflammation, improve circulation, and provide a soothing, cooling sensation that lasts for hours. But that's not all. Our muscle cream is also made with all-natural, plant-based ingredients, making it safe and gentle for even the most sensitive skin. So why wait? Try Lone Star Naturals CBD Muscle Cream today and experience the relief you deserve.
to get things done, like if you want to be productive, I may have a, boss that I don't agree with, but, I need to, the goal of whenever I take care of patients, like I have to make sure, our goal is to do the best thing that we can for our patients. So sometimes that's, okay, I don't agree with exactly how things are running, but I need to make sure we provide high quality care and get things done. So that's kind of a balance, sometimes that's hard and
certainly. Again, what's balancing, the pressures you get from your administration and then also dealing with difficult patients, the patients that are cursing at you or the ones that are
at you,
or less than pleasant,
trying to hit you.
Exactly. You have to kind of, you might want to hit them back or, get down to their level, but being a professional and you're doing your job means putting that aside and taking care of the patient the best you can, and
you just sedate them, right?
You can, yes.
You don't hit them back.
We don't play around in the emergency room.
Safety first.
So yes, it is helpful to have access to certain pharmaceuticals,
short-term medications.
So we've mentioned balance a couple times, and I did write this is like half the time I feel like. I just want to sell my house and retire and open a surf shack on a beach and like just spend time with my family and just, enjoy the success I've already had. and see how long I can make this money last and just kind of withdraw from everything. But then the other half of me is like, no, I need to find something else I can be passionate about. And, I'm 20 years away from retirement. I need to find something else to keep working at and stuff. Like, how do you find a balance of contentment but also staying motivated?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's going to be a little bit different in that regard. But I think, like you said, people idealize, right, sitting on a beach and just, having a margarita, a pina colada, and like that's the rest of your life. But I think you'll get bored with that
2 weeks
pretty quickly.
You're, you're sunburned. And
sand
Yeah.
and your
cirrhosis of the liver.
Cirrhosis. Yeah. So again, I think you can do that, but finding again something else to do on the side, like you're going to get bored just sitting on the beach all day every day, and so again, it doesn't have to be a job. You can find working through a church or volunteer organization, or again, writing a podcast, doing a podcast, or writing a blog, or whatever it is. Just something that you can have to focus on, that where you can see growth and that you're improving yourself. I think that's a big thing, of just where you can look back either from the day before or a week before and say, I've done something, I've accomplished something this week, whether it's writing an article or learning a language or learning a skill, just something that you can focus on. So again, the balance doesn't have to be 50-50, it just has to be whatever maybe some people could be 50-50, some people could be 10% activity, doing something productive, and 90% leisure. Everyone's going to be a little bit different, but the bottom line is that if you're unhappy with what you're doing, what's going on right now, that's a time to look and what the first chapter is about, find that wake up call and saying, hey, what in my life needs to change? What is not giving me satisfaction?
Yeah, I think you mentioned this in the book too, that just like, let's say I did pull the trigger and I just sat on a beach somewhere and stuff, like certain parts of me would atrophy, like my brain and stuff. If I'm not using my brain, if I'm not doing it. So part of us needs that struggle to keep these muscles moving and everything moving, your brain from atrophy and and everything else. So yeah, I think you talked a little bit about humans need the struggle to like keep us motivated and keep us like learning and using. Otherwise our decline can be super rapid. You see these people that do retire and then they die a couple years later and they just kind of fell off because they weren't pushing themselves.
Challenging themselves, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's super important. Again, I mean, everyone knows this probably intuitively, or even if they haven't acknowledged it, of just, again, like we talked about, you don't feel good about yourself if you sat on the couch all day and watched TV, You don't feel good about yourself if, you were just wasted away on a vacation and didn't do anything aside from sit on the beach. You might have enjoyed it in the moment, but when looking back, you don't feel fulfilled by that. But when you think about the times that you do feel fulfilled or have felt fulfilled, and again, those are the times when you got a master's degree or a graduate degree or something, or got a new job and learned a new skill. It's like those are the times where you really feel most again satisfied and excited about life and what's to come. So we all need that downtime, and it's okay to take that downtime, but you need something else to round out your life. So I think, again, we all know that. It's just sometimes we need to be reminded of that, I suppose.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I know I need to be reminded a lot.
You do need to be reminded a lot.
She reminds me all the time. Hey, are you going to get out of bed today?
Are you going to do something? But I know with exercise, it releases serotonin in your brain. It makes you feel good. I would assume that achieving goals and stuff does similar things.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, again, they're dopamine and the reward chemicals and happiness chemicals that we try to, artificially administer through again, pills and drugs and,
TikTok.
There's natural ways to achieve that. And, I mean, I just, anytime you talk about, like, I never, am regretful that I went to church, or I never regret that I went for a run. It's like you might not have wanted to go for the run. You might have thought this sucks the entire time you're on the run, but after you're done with it, you feel accomplished. You feel good, invigorated, and so just kind of keeping that in mind of when you can say that about something, like I don't regret doing that, and being honest about it. Of like we just talked about, if you sat in bed all day, you would probably look back and say, I regret doing that. That wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for my mental health or my physical health, and I should have done more with my day. And it might have felt good at the time, but, I think that's a good litmus test of, if you look at the activities you're doing and, the ones that you can honestly say you don't regret, you should keep those. And then the ones that you do regret, it's okay to relax every now and then, but you should keep them to a minimum or use them only after as a reward for, again, a more fruitful activity.
Yeah. And you had mentioned that you wrote this book kind of around the time of the pandemic, before you became a parent. Is there something you would change with this book now, now that you're a parent?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's hard to say because I'm so new at parenting.
Yeah.
They're only 5 months, so it's not like a lot of instruction needs to be, or in terms of discipline or interacting with your child. It's more just still very much in that complete utter reliance on on you for everything they need. So, I guess it's one thing to add, or certainly would be to talk about again the joys of being a parent. And there is a trend, certainly in this country, in the Western world, where so many people don't decided they don't want to be parents, or maybe just have one or two kids. And I think it's becoming more and more, I don't want to say shunned, but like looked down upon to have large families. So I'd say kind of just talking about the fulfillments of that. I mean, I even have one of my best friends had talked about, him and his wife are, I think they want kids, but they're like kind of like, if it doesn't happen, it's okay, and. Just say, oh, well, we like our sleep, we like our lifestyle. And like we talked about it, just before, of the lifestyle of, okay, going out all night Friday night, having brunch Saturday morning, watching football Saturday day, that's all fun, but I think that has a shelf life, and when you're 50s, 60s, you're kind of going to look back and say, I wish I had created a legacy in the form of children, So, I mean, that's something I certainly could have written about in the book, and, again, wouldn't have had the experience up until now to really...
For the next book.
No, for the next book, or a blog post, perhaps, but...
But it's hard to explain to people that don't have kids about how much it's going to change you. It's one of the life events that I think changed me the most and provided me the most sense of purpose and direction and enjoyment in my life. And like the person I was before I had kids is vastly different than the person I was after I had kids. And like, I think that's the first time I really understood like unconditional love and like willing to like lay your life on the line for somebody. I'd take a bullet for her, but like in the arm or the leg, not the chest, not the chest.
Wow.
But we're gonna take a brief break.
But your kids, like you would do anything for, and it's like it's this different thing that like changes you, and I think people. It's hard to explain that to someone who doesn't have a kid. They're like, yeah, we've heard that, but they can't really understand it till it happens to them, and then it's almost like you're a different person from before and after. It's weird.
Right. And I think people don't realize that it doesn't have to be a death sentence. It's not like your social life has to end once you have kids. You just have to. It's more work. You have to be more creative. There's more stuff to look around, but it's still doable to go and see your friends and family and have brunch if you want, or go out for a drink. You just have some kids to keep in mind. But again, it's only 5 months in, 5.5 months in. It's definitely totally worth it, and it doesn't. Right, I'm sure, as you guys know, there's times where you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, oh my gosh, I just would give anything to be able to sleep through this night, or to get this kid back to sleep. Yeah. And but it all pales into comparison to the benefits you get of knowing that every second you put into them is a reward. It's its own reward, and it's hard to appreciate that or see that until you have kids yourself. So again, I just hope that. We can kind of start reversing that trend and maybe make parenting cool again, or kind of the norm, and just people realizing that it doesn't have to be an end to your life. You can still do plenty of things, and they're going to grow up eventually, and then you can resume your life and still have time to travel more and do the things you felt like you might be missing out on. But
Yeah, it is. I see, even in our family, I see other parents and they're like, well, we can't do this, we can't do that because we're on this strict schedule. And for us, of course, our kids are, basically both of them are adults now.
Yeah.
But when they were younger, we went everywhere.
Yep,
we just adjusted. You
Yep,
just
yeah.
adjust.
Yeah.
Like you just, bring the
yeah.
pack and play, and they
You just make
they
it work,
sleep,
and it's like,
they sleep on the road
Yeah,
or
We're planning
hotel.
a trip to Germany in September.
Oh,
and
nice.
we just planned a cruise with my sister coming up in
Yeah.
next winter, and it's
Packing gets different.
packing
does.
different.
It's like 10 times as much bags to carry. But, but other than that,
it's
it's
just resetting
doable.
your expectations.
Yeah.
This will be our first time, going to Germany. I've never been before, and we have been to Europe together, Christian and my husband and I, and I'm used to a go, and we're going to go see everything, and it's going to be great. Resetting expectations, if someone's having a fit or someone needs a nap, that means we're going to park it here for, an hour or two, and it's just going to be, resetting your expectations. Like, you're going to see what you can see, but you're not going to see everything that you would be able to see, but it doesn't mean you can't go or shouldn't go, it's just, it's going to take more work, but hopefully still get the rewards from it, and
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's good for kids, too, to kind of be able to kind of do different things and adjust to changes and kind of see okay, it's not always going to be a set schedule. We can go and do things and we can adjust and it can be hard and to see those challenges.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, just getting them used to it Again, obviously they'll be young still, only one at the time, but they're, you're not even, but they're, just getting your kids used to different cultures and seeing different, walks of life and different places, just really helps them develop too, So there's just so many benefits to it, and it's like go for it and don't let being a parent hold you back from anything unnecessarily.
Yeah, and just in life too. People have they may make these excuses like I can't do this, can't do that. But you're talking about goals in your book, just set the goals and
that's another thing I talk about. Bring it back to the book of making your goals, but just finding a goal that you can do. And it's again maybe Europe is a stretch for most people, but going to Hot Springs, Arkansas might not be, or just going somewhere more local and having a weekend getaway of hey, we're going to take the kids or. Go somewhere where we wouldn't normally go, and this I can do. It's in my budget. It's my time frame, and instead of making excuses or picking something that's too grand that you'll never reasonably feasibly achieve it, picking something again that's a goal that you can reach, and then I also talk about in my book of making that goal non-negotiable. We are going on this trip, or we are going to do this, no matter what, and here's how we're going to make it happen. So.
It's good for your mental health, too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
Taking a break.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So we're a little over on time, but one more thing. So besides reading the book, let's say they've read the book. Now, what's the first steps you'd recommend to get them started on living the life that they want?
Okay. That's a tough question. Well, if they follow the book, I think that there's a lot that they can learn from it. There's a lot of good advice in there. I think that probably the best step, like we just talked about, is finding something you're going to change and then resolving to do it. And whether that change, another example I use in the book of, again, most people, I'm going to start running. They pick I'm going to run a mile or 2 miles every day or something. And that might be too much, or probably is too much for most people to just go from no running to running a mile or 2 every day. But if you pick, hey, I'm just going to run 5 minutes, or I'm going to run around the block every day or every other day, just whatever it is, picking that and sticking with it. So again, making it non-negotiable. I don't care if it's raining out or it's cold out or whatever the case may be. If I got home from work late, whatever, just if it's something that's easy enough, a small enough amount of time to do it, resolve to do it, and then it becomes a habit, and then you can start building on that. Once you become that 5-minute-a-day runner, you can become a 10-minute-a-day runner, and then a 2-mile-a-day runner, And I think that's a big problem that most people have is, again, reaching too big, making it too unrealistic, too impractical, that it falls apart, a week or two after they resolve to do it. So That would be my biggest takeaway is pick one thing, coming up with something realistic that you can do and just start doing it. And then I think it will become a snowball effect of once you realize what you're capable of, you can start adding other things. So again, whether that's a fitness example, but okay, I'm going to save $10 a month or a day, whatever it is. I'm not going to buy my Starbucks, one day a week or 2 days a week and put that money and set it aside. Again, something that's easy, that's feasible, and then it'll just before you know it, you're not buying Starbucks at all anymore, and you're saving $20 a week, or So it's finding those things that you can do, and then you can just start building momentum and
start small, start getting the dopamine hits from
exactly.
making the little changes, and then just build on those and keep going and keep going. It almost like adjust your mindset.
Yep. So. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I love it. So where can we find out more about you and your book? How do customers get a copy of this?
Yes, yeah. So it's available on Amazon.com. So just search for Stop Sabotaging Your Future. Again, my name's Maxwell Morrison. And then I also have a blog and website, maxmorrisonmd.com. So you can find there. And I've been trying to, once a week or every other week, create a new blog post just about a variety of topics. So I have 3 posts up there so far. And again, working on just kind of whatever comes to mind and something pertinent towards overall happiness, health, and well-being, kind of can fit the mold and make it on the website. So, and again, you can contact me there if you have any questions or comments or anything you'd like me to talk about. You're welcome to do that as well.
Nice. Well, thank you, Dr. Morrison, for being on our show, and we'll see y'all next time.
All right, thank you.